What if the most productive thing you could do is nothing at all? We live in a world that glorifies hustle, a 24/7 cycle of work, notifications, and stimulation. But across nature, from the smallest cells to the largest galaxies, there is a fundamental rhythm, a pulse of activity followed by a period of quiet. Why is this pattern of rest so universal yet so easily forgotten in our modern lives? This brings us to a modern puzzle that scientists and psychologists are grappling with today. Despite having more time-saving technologies than ever before, rates of burnout, anxiety, and stress-related illnesses are soaring. We seem to be wired for constant action, yet our bodies and minds are paying a heavy price. It's like we're running an engine in the red, ignoring all the warning lights. This raises a fundamental question. Is rest simply the absence of work, or is it something more? Is it an active, essential ingredient for a healthy life? Thousands of years ago, long before our digital age, an ancient collection of texts also observed this human tendency to overwork. The Hebrew scriptures describe a world brought into being through stages of activity, but it culminates not in a final act of creation, but in a day of complete rest. This concept, called Shabbat or Sabbath, wasn't just a suggestion. It was woven into the very fabric of society and law. One day in 7 was set aside for complete cessation from labor. This wasn't just about stopping work. It was a dedicated time for family, for community, and for quiet contemplation. Seen as an ancient document, it presents a fascinating hypothesis that a structured, rhythmic break is not a luxury, but a non-negotiable component of a functioning system. Now let's fast forward to modern science. What does neuroscience tell us about the resting brain? For a long time, scientists assumed that when we weren't focused on a task, our brains simply powered down. But with the advent of brain imaging technology like fMRI, they discovered something astonishing. When we are at rest daydreaming, mind-wandering, or just staring out the window, a specific network of brain regions lights up with activity. They called it the default mode network, or DMN. Think of the DMN as your brain's internal maintenance crew. When you stop feeding it external tasks, it gets to work. It consolidates memories, connecting new experiences with old ones. It allows you to process emotions, make sense of social interactions, and even imagine the future. It's during this downtime that our brain has its aha moments, connecting disparate ideas in novel ways. True creativity and problem-solving don't happen when we're staring intensely at a spreadsheet. They often emerge when we're in the shower, on a walk, or simply doing nothing. This is the biological basis for rest. It's not an off switch. It's a different, equally vital mode of operation. And it's not just our brains. Our bodies operate on similar principles known as ultradian and circadian rhythms. The most famous is the 24-hour sleep-wake cycle, our circadian rhythm. But throughout the day, our energy and focus also ebb and flow in 90 to 120-minute cycles. These are ultradian rhythms. Pushing past these natural dips in energy leads to diminishing returns, stress, and fatigue. The most productive people aren't those who work the longest hours, but those who work in focused sprints and then take genuine breaks. They work with their body's natural rhythm, not against it. So here's the interesting moment. We have an ancient text that prescribes a 1 in 7 day cycle of complete rest, a societal macro rhythm. And we have modern science revealing that our brains and bodies are hardwired for micro rhythms of activity and rest throughout each day, and a default mode network that requires downtime to function optimally. Both sources, separated by millennia, point to the same fundamental insight: rest is not empty time. It is a structured, active, and necessary process for restoration, consolidation, and creativity. The ancient idea of Sabbath wasn't just a religious rule. It seems to be an uncannily accurate observation of a deep biological and psychological need. It's as if our ancestors observed a pattern in human nature that we are only now rediscovering with our most advanced scientific tools. What does this mean for us today, in our hyperconnected world? It means we need to fundamentally redefine our relationship with rest. It's not about being lazy or unproductive. It's about being strategic. It means scheduling breaks into your day with the same intention you schedule meetings. This could be a 15-minute walk without your phone, a few moments to just stare out the window, or simply closing your eyes and breathing. It also invites us to consider a larger rhythm in our week. Can we create our own version of a Sabbath? A dedicated 24-hour period to truly disconnect from work, screens, and obligations, and reconnect with ourselves, our loved ones, and the physical world around us. This isn't about escaping life. It's about creating the conditions that allow us to live it more fully and sustainably. Seeing rest as an active skill rather than a passive state can transform our health, our creativity, and our overall sense of well-being. As we look at the patterns in ancient texts and the data from modern labs, we're left with a compelling thought. Perhaps the blueprint for a sustainable, creative, and healthy life has always been there, encoded in nature and observed by our ancestors. It's a simple rhythm of work and rest, of doing and being. In our relentless pursuit of progress, have we forgotten the simple wisdom of the pause? Thank you for joining us on Evergreen Path. What part of this connection between this ancient biblical observation and modern science surprised you the most? What other ancient biblical ideas would you like to see explored through the lens of modern science? Let us know in the comments below. If you're curious about the hidden patterns that shape our world, be sure to subscribe and join us for our next investigation.